Call to order the City Council regular meeting for the City of Wyoming, Minnesota, June 20th, 2023. Let the record reflect, we have a quorum. Member Luger, Member Onstad, Member Schilling, Member Yeager, and Mayor Iverson are present. We'll ask to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Member Schilling, and he is a veteran.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we're gonna do, can everybody hear me okay? Hear me in the back? Great. So we're gonna do things a little bit differently. So we do have the open forum, and what I'm gonna ask is whoever is here that would like to speak on something that is not about Gregory construction, and you'd like to come up to speak on anything other than that, because I'll give you time to speak on that when we come to that agenda item. So is there anybody here who would wish to speak to something that is either not on the agenda or different than the Gregory project? Come on up. Janine, we know who you are, but you have to state it for the record.
I'm Janine Sachs. I live at 25723 Kettle River Boulevard. And I've given these papers to you before, but I have another one. And I want this on record so that if anything else happens, you know what's going on. I've hired a lawyer, so he's helping me to find my way. And it's upsetting, you know. And what's more upsetting is I'm here alone. If Orville were here, it'd be a different ballgame. He's up here. And I know how he'd handle it, so that's why we're going.
Okay.
No, I decided I have only, I think it's 6 years to make a record of what happened there, so that I can get it recommended, get it taken care of. Mr. Knoxness, Jesse, he hired someone or did it himself, I don't know who, but it's about a year and a half ago, came on my property and raped 2 rows of my evergreens, 7 feet up. My kids saw it. And I hired a guy to come and check to see where my markers are. So the pictures are in here, and the letter I sent to Jesse is in here, and everything else about that. I'm going to go after it. I was bombarded with snow last year and was snowed in half the year. And someone at my church made a smart remark. Not a good idea.
No, definitely not.
I told him, I said, next winter, I'm calling you at 6 o'clock in the morning to come plow me out.
Right.
And we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then he was gone for 3 weeks in a row here, and he's coming back next week. He's being his wife on vacation, but I'm not supposed to know that. So I'm gonna lay it on him.
Okay. And will you leave that with Mr. Linwood then? Is that what you're planning to do, is to leave it with Mr. Linwood?
I had sent him a letter telling him what I want.
Yeah.
And he's to contact me by the end of this month.
Okay.
By the 27th, which is next week.
Okay.
A week from today. And I haven't heard a peep out of him. I don't know if he'll do it or not, but if he doesn't, my lawyer.
You're talking Mr. Moxness, not Mr. Linwood. Are you talking a response back from Mr. Moxness?
Yes, I'm expecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, not Mr. Linwood. I just want to clarify the record.
No, nobody from.
Okay.
I'm not getting you involved, but
Yeah.
I want it on record here, so
Yeah.
that if I have to do something, that you know
Okay.
what's going on and why. I'm not gonna ask for money or anything, but I do want those trees replaced.
Yeah.
And it's all open along there, and he's got another thing in there that I don't like. He's made a deep ditch about 6 to 8 feet across and about 6 feet down, and it comes down towards my land. What happens if we get a lot of rain? Because that will go right into those trees that I have planted there.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we'll cover when my lawyer's with me. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming up and speaking,
Yeah.
kind of updating us on what's going on.
I want it on record.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it had been just one side of the one row of trees, it wouldn't have been bad.
Yeah.
But he opened my whole yard, and we're going to correct it by putting in snow fencing.
Okay.
But Ryan said that's only 4 feet, Mom, and you've got another 3 feet above. So
Yeah.
we're gonna raise it up about a foot from the ground so the rabbits and the whatever can get through.
Yeah.
But we don't know how that's gonna handle. It depends on the. My kids have been very good, and I've also been told that there are ways that I could put surveillance on.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so far from my house, so people
Yeah.
are on the other. He's not. I think he realized if he built right next to my property, he'd really be in trouble, so he's down on the other end, and hopefully I'll be gone before he gets to my
Yeah.
end.
Wow.
But the kids like my house. I've
Good.
got a fenced-in garden.
Yeah,
And Mama Deer came back and had her baby in my backyard.
that's awesome.
You betcha. He's just big enough you can see him over the leaves. And Mama came in. There's nobody out in that yard.
No.
And we put out water for him because
Yeah.
the swamp is empty. So,
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's great. So some good came out of that as well.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
all
gonna
right,
leave this with you. So
all right.
there's an extra letter that wasn't in the other envelope.
Okay. Sounds good.
I wrote the nonsense.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that has something they'd like to speak about other than the Gregory project? Seeing none. Get back to my notes here. All right, seeing none, we'll move on from open forum. We'll move on to approval minutes, number 1. Consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for June 6, 2023. If there are no comments or questions, do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 2 on the agenda, consider approving the minutes of the budget work session meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for June 7th, 2023. If there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. We have a second by Member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. On our consent agenda, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I wish to pull 6, 7, and 8. Are there any other consent agenda items we'd like pulled? Seeing none, let's make a motion to approve 3, 4, 5, and 9. Do we have a motion to approve 3, 4, 5, and 9?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 6, to consider the resignation of Austin Smith from the Wyoming Fire Department. I wanted to pull that because I don't think we don't see anybody here from the fire department really, right? We don't have any, okay. All right, so Chief Bauer is here, and Chief Bauer, if you could just let him know that we appreciate his time on the fire department and appreciate his family as well, because it's a family event. So if you could pass that along, that would be great.
Yep.
All right, number 7, to consider resignation of Scott Boker as police officer, begin the hiring process for a police officer. So I wanted to bring this up because I really wanted to talk about Officer Boker and just what a loss this will be for the city of Wyoming. He has been an amazing officer, an amazing community officer. I will tell you, the first time I met him, I think he was maybe a month on the force, and my son will be embarrassed to hear this, but he had to come and talk to my son about going through a 4-way stop sign. So, and we loved him ever since then. He was absolutely wonderful and always wonderful with the kids and the community. Does anybody else have anything to say about the resignation? Otherwise,
I do. I wanted to say I really appreciated the work he did with my wife when she fell, and he sat there and made sure she was comfortable, as did the fire department when they came out. As she waited in the snow for almost an hour for an ambulance to arrive, and he did a great job, made sure she was calm and was doing okay. And he did a wonderful job, and you will be missed.
Thank you.
anybody else?
I'd just like to say I met him also when he was brand new on the force. He gave me a courtesy bill. It was over 14 years ago, yeah. So, but he's always been very nice. See him in the neighborhood. He's been great at our community events. He's going to be deeply missed. I know that, and my wife loves him as well. So
Not in a creepy way.
no, not in a creepy.
Yeah. Just pointing that out.
He used to go to the school all the time
Yeah.
with the kids when they were really little.
Yeah.
So.
I guess I would like to say that when we do the job description, that person must know how to do tricks on a bike.
Yep.
Might limit the pool a little bit.
Might, but you never know. So, all right. And last, number 8, to consider the resignation of Austin Rademacher as building inspector and begin the hiring process for building inspector. I will again say that I have heard nothing but good things about Austin. Mr. Weck, over 2 years he's been here? just about 2 years. So just constant comments about what a great building inspector he is and will be as he goes forward. And so he's going to be greatly missed. So if you could pass it along to Austin, that would be great. Does anybody else wish to make a comment?
Are we allowed to deny his resignation?
Well, he probably wouldn't be very happy, nor would where he's going. So, all right. So I'll make a motion to approve number 6, 7, and 8 on the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Acknowledge receipts of reports of officer boards, commissions, and department heads. Number 10, 11, 12, and 13. Does any council member wish to pull an item from the reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Number 14, to consider resolution 23-0654, a resolution approving a variance from sections 40-255, 4A, and 40-296 to allow the construction of an office building nearer than the 150-foot setback from the right-of-way of Highway 8 at pin 21.10712.10. Mr. Weck, I understand we'll be hearing from you in the next 10 minutes. So,
Yes, Madam Mayor,
okay.
council members. We do have a PowerPoint presentation, and there will be another 4 resolutions to tie in with this one, with variances, other variances and a site plan review. So the property's at intersection of Highway 8 and Hazel Avenue, just off of 250th Street. Currently it's a vacant lot, fairly wet, but buildable. Next. It is currently zoned commercial. It's within the Highway 8 overlay district, and it was rezoned and re-guided in early 2022. The proposed building is 8,623 square feet in size. They're providing parking in compliance with the ordinance, and then they're also providing handicap parking also. Currently has 1 access point on Hazel. They have 5 variances that are needed. 3 are setbacks variances from the Highway 8, 150-foot setback, 1 being for the building, the other for the parking lot, and the 3rd for the freestanding sign. And then a variance for the building materials, and then the site plan review approval also. So they're proposing 11 offices, a break room, restrooms, a conference room, reception area, and storage. Again, like I said, they're asking for that variance for the architectural material standards. Next. Future access is on Hazel Avenue. Part of the Highway 8 reconstruction, they'll be closing off Hazel Avenue there at Highway 8, and also closing off 250th Street at the opposite end. Access will be gained from Hamlet Avenue to the west. The grading and stormwater plans have been approved. Cover Lake Forest Lake Watershed District is reviewing the plans. I'm not sure if they've approved them yet, but it says conditional approval has been received, so I think they're fairly close. Landscaping, lighting, the utility plans, they're not proposing any additional lighting in the parking lot. It does meet the landscaping requirements. It will be served by well and a septic system. I have received a conceptual design for the septic. It will work. And again, they're requesting a variances from the 150-foot right-of-way for the parking lot, the building, and the sign, architectural standards, and then they're also requesting a variance from the screening standards. Doing the screening on the north and the west side. These list the criteria that the City Council and the Planning Commission have to consider when granting variances. Got nothing to add in that one. And these are the findings of fact for the applications. These are the 7 conditions that the Planning Commission and staff are recommending for the approval for the site plan. Provide wainscoting around the building, submit a lighting plan. They'll need a separate sign permit, address any engineering comments, install screening along the western and north parcel boundaries, so we're recommending denial of those variances. Prohibited from any outside storage materials, and all required state and local and federal permitting must be obtained. And again, the Planning Commission is recommending approval variances and the site plan approval with those 7 conditions.
Okay. Do we want, before we ask who wants to come up and to speak, do we want to go through all of these, or did you just go through all of them?
I pretty much went through all of them.
Okay, so council, what I'm gonna do is have people come up and speak, and then we'll be able to answer any questions from there. I know I have a few because I was at the planning commission, so we'll be able to kind of answer some of those questions. So from there, we will ask, we have some people who want to come up and speak. The first one on my list, and I apologize, I can't read it, 250th and Forest Lake, can't ring a bell? Is it Carl?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Don't you wish that you could read it?
Sorry. I apologize. So just give your name and address again, please.
Sure. My name is Carl Dahl, 7514 250th Street in Wyoming. I live along Hazel, 250th is the intersection right there on a dirt road. I'm speaking here tonight to ask you to pause and reconsider approving this plan. At minimum, I'm asking for this to be tabled until the next planning commission or council meeting, mostly to address resident and safety concerns. I understand some of my concerns may be alleviated with the reduced, with the Highway 8 completion. However, there's not a current state. At the current state, I do not feel the Planning Commission has adequately addressed these concerns or discussed the MnDOT recommendation. So Hazel and 250th are both dirt roads, and they're all residential. There's only local residents. I'm not sure who's been on the road or on and off the road. I like living on a dirt road. I'm not looking forward to, hopefully it never gets paved, but if it gets paved, I'm not looking forward to that day. But pulling on and off Highway 8 is dangerous. You know, I'm kind of looking forward to the upgrade just for that fact, but I myself have witnessed accidents of people being rear-ended, pushing other lanes, and it's not a pretty sight, and my kids are young. I'm not looking forward to them driving and pulling out in those intersections. So while I don't like the idea of expanding Highway 8, I support that to resolve this intersection issue, so I understand that. However, my current opinion is adding traffic to the current state, especially commercial traffic, is not in the best interest of public safety, and I'm not interested in looking for someone to get hurt or killed here. I spoke with Joe Triplett, Chisago County engineer, about Highway 8. He of course can't speak to state or city roads. He felt Highway 8 construction was not going to start until 2026, so that puts us 2 to 3 years out. So this interim solution is going to be here for a number of years, and that just kind of makes me queasy with this increased traffic. Along with that, these people that might be working or visiting the property are not going to be familiar with this road. We know not to sit on Highway 8 and wait for a left turn because you're going to get rear-ended. So people that are coming to this business, are they aware of the dangers of doing that? Hopefully they don't learn the hard way, right? There was a MnDOT report, and that MnDOT report recommended a turn lane be installed on Highway 8. I felt like that wasn't really thoroughly discussed in the Planning Commission. It was kind of mentioned there was a report that wasn't fully vetted out. I think it's in a packet tonight, so I think it is available. I did see a letter of it, so it's not hidden, right? I did speak to the MnDOT engineer listed on the report. He was unable to answer why a turn lane would be required versus recommended. The person that could provide that answer has not been returning my calls with the state. Just that I asked that we have some more conversations about this. I think the Highway 8 upgrade answers some of these problems. That's 2 to 3 years out. I think MnDOT, hopefully we get back and provide some of these answers of why they're recommending versus requiring. That's why I'm just asking at least for a pause so we can try to get a little bit more information and make a informed decision that doesn't get someone hurt or killed.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your thoughtful comments. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, and then next we have, and I'm not sure, Bonnie, if you want to go first or Neil. And I do ask because we do have a lot of people that want to speak, just to make sure we're kind of hitting different points. So, all right. Bonnie, go ahead and state your first, because I know you, I'm sorry, Mrs. Christensen.
Bonnie Christensen, 24679 Hale Avenue, Forest Lake, or Wyoming. And hopefully mine are a little bit different than Carl's. I have the MnDOT letter, it's in the packet. And MnDOT letter. It was dated August 24th, 2022. MnDOT recommended a westbound right turn lane onto Hazel Avenue. The minutes of the Planning Commission meeting from August 9th, 2022 say that zoning administrator Weck stated that the city received a letter, that letter I showed you, from MnDOT that outlined requirements related to drainage as well as a turn lane. The MnDOT letter was not included in the Planning Commission meeting on June 13th, that just happened, 2023, but was discovered later by a resident, Carl Dahl, who contacted MnDOT. At that Planning Commission meeting, those present were unable to factually answer any questions regarding any MnDOT correspondence with the city, regarding turn lanes or traffic studies, and any city response regarding those topics. Therefore, the city needs to state their position in writing regarding MnDOT's recommendation for the right turn lane at Hazel, and then send the Gregory proposal back to the Planning Commission. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Linwood, Mr. Weck will respond to that after all the comments. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Christensen. And Mr. Reaver, you're next.
My name is Neil Reaver. I live at 24679 Hale Avenue. I'm just gonna discuss City Code for Highway 8 Corridor Overlay District, Section 4292, number 7. And that's the piece of code that we're talking about. Traffic impact studies. Development proposals which result in traffic trip generation in excess of 50 trips per day shall include a traffic impact study, which is consistent with recommendations in the Trunk Highway 8 Corridor Study. In the packet that you have, in a letter dated 5/12/23, it stated, and this is a letter to Mr. Gregory from Zerke Soil Testing. And it states, you have indicated that the maximum employee count in the building is 25. 25, okay? And that's Mr. Gregory's comment to the soil people. So, given that, the code calls for a traffic study, clearly. The code calls for a traffic impact study that avoids legal ramifications for the city and protects the safety of the current residents, the Gregory employees, and the public traveling on Highway 8. Based on the fact that Highway 8 and intersection is one of the most dangerous intersections in Wyoming, and I think the proposal should go back to the Planning Commission until that study is done.
Thank you, Mr. Reaver. Anyone else? Now's your time. Come on up, state your name.
I'm Earl Newstrand, live at 24795 Hazel Avenue. What I'm wondering is, are we taking into consideration with the 4 lanes of traffic eventually gonna come? How is that gonna affect this new building coming in? I'm sure part of my property is gonna go.
I will allow Mr. Ruck and Mr. Linwood to kind of answer that.
I think,
Yeah,
you know-
they do have that all in consideration,
Yeah.
but I'll let them speak to that tonight, or they can get a hold of you
Yeah.
as well. Mr. Tripoli can too,
Thank you.
so appreciate it. Thank you for coming tonight. Anyone else? Now's your chance. We're not gonna go back again. All right. So, we have some questions before us. I just wanna, so I don't forget, I'm the liaison with the planning commission. There was a conversation about possibly, doing a speed sign, cause there is not one. So that was some concern, so we kind of wanna address that if,
You speak in regards to Hazel and 250th?
Yeah.
That has been passed along to Public Works. just to
Okay,
see if they can
perfect.
put signage up there, yes.
okay, sounds great. All right, so, Mr. Weck, do you wanna kind of address first?
I can.
Okay.
I'll start with the MnDOT letter. There were two letters, one on August 9th and one on August 24th. The August 24th was their final letter recommending a right-hand turn lane. They're recommending a right-hand turn lane, they're not recommending a left-hand turn lane. So the concern about people being rear-ended, even MnDOT doesn't think that's an issue, at least based on the amount of traffic there.
And you're talking 2023, correct?
Correct, yep. For the reason why it wasn't in the packet, that was my mistake. I had it ready to go in the packet. When I compiled the PDF, I forgot to add that one. It wasn't anything nefarious. We're putting it out there. This MnDOT is recommending a turn lane, not requiring a turn lane.
Okay.
As far as the traffic impact study, the code does say that. I don't have an answer from Mr. Reaver on that one, other than, again, MnDOT looked at the application, and they're not requiring anything more being done. And again, because of that highway improvements that are being done. The last gentleman, I did not get his name. The setback for, the 150-foot setback from the right-of-way Highway 8 was to a reserve area for when the project does go through, that we're not buying buildings and everything else from other people, that's area saved. The plan has been pretty much approved. Mr. Triplett has looked at it, has looked at this plan. Once the Highway 8 improvements are done, everything will meet those current setbacks without the Highway 8 overlay. So if Mr. Gregory was to come in 3-4 years from now after Highway 8 was done, he would not need any of those variances, because he would need to meet those setbacks. So we've already taken that into account to make sure that we're not impacting the right of way for Highway 8. I think I covered.
That looks like what I have. Okay, and then Mr. Gregory, I know you're here. Would you like to come up, please? So at this point in time, what I'll do is, council, you guys can ask any questions. Mr. Gregory also can answer whatever questions that you might have as well. As the Planning Commission liaison, I was there at the last meeting, so heard a lot of comments, and you did as well. You were there the whole time. So, all right, so we'll start with Member Luker.
In the presentation, there's reference to needing to the engineering comments and meeting those requirements. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what those were and how those have been addressed?
They are the stormwater comments, and actually, if you were to, in your packet, the drawings have in blue and I think in red some of those comments.
Okay.
So they're minor comments. It's nothing that can't be taken care of.
Okay. Those are my questions for now.
Okay, thank you. Member Onstad.
Do we know how Highway 8's going to look? Is what is shown on the map? It looks like there's going to be that turnaround. I can't think of what it's called.
I think they're doing one of the, if you want to make a left turn, you gotta make a right and then do a U-turn and come
Yeah.
back around is what those intersections are, what,
Like
Is
on
it
Highway
not-
65.
like on 65. yeah.
Highway 65,
Yeah.
biking and Highway 65.
No, and I'm familiar with it. I just couldn't remember what it's called. But
Yeah.
is it set in stone that that's how they're going to?
I think
do
that's
that
where we're going.
intersection?
They've looked at all the different combinations. I think that's the one that MnDOT's willing to pay for. to be
And
honest
was
with
it, do we know if, I gotta put it in my mode that I can actually read the road names.
you. Hazel Avenue will be closed.
Hazel, I know that I saw a plan where Hazel looked like it was going to close
It is,
to
yeah.
8. That's
Yep.
still,
Yeah, there'll be a new road along the north property line of Gregory Contracting. And then that'll carry to the west over to Hamlet Avenue, and that'll be everyone's access into the neighborhood.
including that new property.
Correct.
Okay. And that's where the concern for a traffic study would be, that the gentleman was talking about
Well,
earlier, I assume?
The traffic study has to do with the highway overlay, so
Okay.
to be honest with you, that part of it isn't a part of this, more the impacts coming off a highway, not.
Okay. And not with the side streets?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
That's it.
Member Schilling?
I actually don't have any questions.
Okay. Member Yeager?
Okay. Right, so the audience, the community residents referenced this MnDOT memo, right? But then, when I was reading the planning commission minutes, it says that Mr. Linwood said that MnDOT did not comment and explained they were not requiring any left or right turn lane at this time. So what is MnDOT's final word?
They're recommending, they're not.
They're just recommending.
Just recommend.
A right turn, it'd be a right turn, not a left turn.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no memo saying they're not requiring or anything?
They're just recommending.
Right, okay, okay, cool. So are we planning to follow MnDOT's recommendation, or what's the consequences if you don't follow MnDOT's recommendation?
Well, it's a recommendation, so the city council has the option to take the recommendation or not. Staff and talking also to the county engineer, Mr. Triplett, and MnDOT, the cost of doing the right turn lane to then have it torn out in a couple of years didn't seem justified. And that was why they changed from the August 9th to the August 24th letter from required to recommended.
Okay, so there's no consequences if we don't follow their recommendation?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So the intersection of 8 and Hazel is kind of that weird angle where you gotta
Yeah.
swing your little rear end out to get in there. Will this intersection have to be modified to accommodate commercial traffic before Highway 8 is reconstructed?
No. MnDOT wasn't requiring anything on that at all.
Okay. And then what's to prevent traffic from turning down onto 250th to access, going the other way, turning down 250th, then down Hazel to access?
It's a public road, anyone could take that way if they wanted to.
Okay.
Typically, I don't. I take a Hazel if I can. And to also kind of backtrack to the Hazel Avenue, to reconfigure that so it's straight and come in would require them to buy basically that house on the corner. Because it would have to go into that right of way.
Oh, okay.
Extend over there, so.
Okay. Okay, and so if you have the possibility of people going down to, making that turn, block, the street earlier down 250th to go down Hazel, is there anything we can do to ensure that the residents' concerns about people getting hurt don't occur?
We could put a sign up at the 250th saying no commercial traffic.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
it's
I think part of that is, highway's been dangerous for a long time.
Okay.
Things are being addressed as they're
Yeah.
doing the whole thing.
I was just trying to alleviate the residents' concerns.
I think we did talk to Public Works about placing there's no speed signs currently on 250th and Hazel. I think, not to say that people wouldn't go down to 250th, I think the more direct flow would be to utilize Hazel. I know Mr. Gregory addressed the planning commission with that in regards to his employee traffic. He can't obviously control individuals who are coming to the showroom, but I can let him speak to
We
that.
did talk about putting a exit sign at the end of exiting our area, a sign that says exit with an arrow pointing towards Highway 8 to keep people from turning left. But Highway 8's right there, I don't see how they would turn left at
Okay.
that point, but.
Yeah, and you also had made a comment regarding, there was concerns about the employees and stuff, and you had made a comment of what you plan on doing in terms of employees. So
Yeah,
do you remember?
I want all my employees to take a left out of our parking lot, a right out of our parking lot, and then go to Highway 8 right there. We pride ourselves in having nice looking vehicles and everything, and going down a dirt road doesn't promote that. So I don't wanna have my car wash bill go through the roof. So I want them to go right onto Highway 8 there.
Okay, great. Really appreciate it. I don't think, is there any more comments from Mr. Gregory?
Oh, I have a couple more questions,
Okay.
So Mr. Reaver brings up the number of employees and traffic impact study. So let's just put it out there directly. How many employees you got, and how many employees are gonna be in that building?
This
every day?
building is gonna have 15.
Okay.
We currently have 15 employees in the office. We have a separate facility for operations that has the rest of the employees. Right now, we're just at the brink of breaking 30 employees total. So as moving into here, I would anticipate it would be the 15 employees. The reason why Zerke told me to go with 25 is for way down the road future. He says, just about everybody, you wanna make sure that you do extra on the septic so that you don't have to add on to it later on. That's very expensive. If you do it now, you save a bunch of money. So he said, put 25 in the application.
Okay. So that doesn't meet any need for a traffic study?
If he's only got 15 employees there.
Okay, cool. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Real quick, it's Gregory Contracting.
Oh, Gregory Contract,
Construction.
sorry.
There is a Gregory Construction out
Yeah.
there, and we don't like their reputation, so.
Thank you for correcting
Yes.
that. Yes, we appreciate having a wonderful business in the city of Wyoming, so we appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Sandstrom, just kind of a quick question. It looks like the applicant is following everything that we asked him to follow. What would happen if some of the residents were asking that we table it and have all these other studies done, and we've kind of talked about that we've got all of that information? What's the ramification if we decide to table it and do all this other study based on that he meets, this business meets everything that is in the ordinances that we have?
Sure. Well, certainly the biggest issue seems to be traffic concerns, and and as Fred has pointed out, there are known traffic issues. MnDOT has already looked at it and provided some recommendations, and so it doesn't seem apparent what an additional traffic study would provide here, other than it's probably going to say the same sort of things that MnDOT is already saying, and what's already planned into the future for improvements to Highway 8, and so we kind of can already predict what the outcome is going to be. As far as tabling it, if you want to require the applicant to do a traffic study, I suppose you can do that on the belief that this project could exceed 50 trips per day. It's not clear whether they really surpass that threshold or not. Certainly, we have to look at the 60-day rule, and I didn't look close enough.
July 17th would be 60 days.
Okay, so if it's tabled, you potentially are running up close to that 60-day rule, although you could also extend that out to 120 days without much trouble, just by sending a letter to the applicant. And so that would probably need to be done just to make sure we didn't surpass that deadline of taking action on it. But because we're still within the 60 days and you can extend it out to 120, the timing is probably not a massive concern. It's just a matter of whether the council really feels it's justified to require the applicant to do that or not.
And we as a council could not deny it for 4 years until the Highway 8 comes through, because they've met all of these conditions.
Right, I mean, you've got the application now. If you really felt like you wanted to deny it just because there's concerns about what's gonna happen with Highway 8 and wanting that work to be done, it seems like a long delay to wait for that project to come around, and with the reality being this project's probably not going to be built and ready to start being used until middle of next year at the soonest. And so that Highway 8 project is not that far off at that point.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, I have asked all of my questions. Council has asked all of their questions. I'll go one by one, though we can't do all of them all at one time. So number 14, to consider resolution 23-06-54, resolution approving a variance. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by member Schilling. Do we have a second? I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So approved. Resolution 230655, a resolution approving a variance for the section 40-296. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion to approve by member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. To consider resolution 230656, a resolution approving a variance for section 40-296. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by member Schilling. Do we have a second? I'll make that second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. To consider resolution 230657, a resolution approving a variance from section 40-451. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Resolution 230658, a resolution approving a site plan review application to construct an office with a showroom. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Sorry. Member Schilling, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved, and that will do that. So, all right, thank you very much for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. Just making sure where we're at. Number 19, to consider resolution 230659, a resolution denying a conditional use permit application at property ID number 21.1060500.00 and 21.10542.10.10. Mr. Weck or Mr. Linwood?
Mr. Wynn.
Madam Mayor and council members, I do not have a PowerPoint for this one. 257 Land Holdings is proposing 2 apartment buildings, 13 units total, single story, and then 2 detached buildings for garages for the cars, and then some on-site parking. The Planning Commission is recommending denial of the application with the findings of fact stated in the resolution. I won't go through them at this point. What Mr. Sandstrom was talking earlier about the 60-day and 120-day rule, the planning or the city council has to make a decision tonight. We run up on 120 days tomorrow. Yep.
Okay. All right, questions from council?
I don't have any questions. This isn't the first time we've seen this.
No questions? Okay.
questions.
Member Yeager?
No questions.
Member Onstad?
No questions.
Member Luker?
No questions.
All right, we need a motion to approve resolution 230659. Do we have a motion to approve? I'll make that motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. I did want to, I'm going to go back a second to our last few resolutions. I wanted just to thank everybody who came in tonight and also at the Planning Commission to come in and speak about this project. So we really appreciate it. It takes time out of your busy day to come in and speak to us. So thank you very much. All right, back to our agenda. Number 20, Resolution 230660, a resolution approving plan and specifications and ordering advertisement bids for the 2023 Fallbrook Avenue and 264th Street Improvement Project. Again, Mr. Linwood. Okay,
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This is the next step as we move forward with our 2023 Fallbrook and 264th Street improvement. The request for council tonight is to approve plans and specification and to authorize advertising for bids. This project includes a full depth reclamation of the street, along with some storm sewer work, culvert crossings, and then some minor improvements to the existing sanitary sewer. With that, we would recommend to the council approve and move forward with those plans and specs and advertising of bids for the project.
Okay, and just remind council that we've had a couple of conversations about this in a work session.
Correct. We've had multiple as far as how it ranks in our CIP list, and we've gone through the public hearing for this particular project at our last meeting, going through that and how the project will be constructed along with the potential funding mechanisms for it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Onstad, any questions?
No questions.
Member Schilling?
No questions.
Member Yeager?
No questions.
Member Luker?
No questions.
All right, we need a motion to approve Resolution 230660, a resolution approving plans and specifications and ordering advertisement for bid. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. To consider Resolution 230661, a resolution restricting parking on Fallbrook Avenue and 264th Street for the 2023 Fallbrook Avenue 264th Street Improvement Project. Mr. Linwood?
Mayor, members of council, this once again is our standard practice for our street projects. We do not allow, we have parking restrictions always when we have these projects ongoing. Currently, that this is mostly a commercial and industrial use in that part of, for this particular project. We need to have those full lanes for the navigation for obviously a lot of times heavy equipment that is going through there for some of the businesses that are in our industrial park. So this would be, right now, this would be the portion, the southern portion of Fallbrook Avenue near Fairview Avenue is recommended to continue to allow that parking on the west side. That's currently the only side utilized for parking, because that's some of the overflow for hospital parking. The rest of this resolution would restrict parking from 264th Street to Forest Boulevard to Fallbrook Avenue on both sides of that roadway, as long, and as well with Fallbrook Avenue from 264th, 400 feet north of Fairview Avenue, and Fallbrook Avenue from Fairview Avenue, 400 feet north, and then to the east side of the roadway only. So this is just a resolution this is standard practice, once again, for our street improvement project.
All right. Member Schilling, any questions?
No questions.
Member Yeager?
This is only for the duration of the project,
Correct.
not permanent?
Correct.
Okay.
Member Luker?
No questions.
Member Onstad?
No questions.
All right, we need a motion to approve Resolution 230661, a resolution restricting parking on Fallbrook Avenue. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 22, consider approving job description for a part-time project coordinator for age-friendly work and authorization of advertising the position, and that's a mouthful, Mr. Linwood, and it's pretty exciting.
Be Mr. Sachs, actually.
I will take this
Mr.
one.
Sachs,
Thank you.
we're wondering if we're gonna hear from you tonight.
Yeah,
All
one more
right.
time, right?
One more, so let's make it
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so if you recall back in February, we presented a communication to council informing you that we were working in coalition to apply for a age-friendly community grant with the Central Minnesota Council on Aging and the Chisago Agewell Coalition. We were recently notified that we were awarded $19,000 through this age-friendly grant. We did change our proposal slightly just due to the type of funding they were looking to award. So initially we were kind of centered on a community garden. Now we shifted more toward this coordinator position that's going to take over some of our age-friendly work. And I'll get into a little bit of what that is in a moment. But essentially this part-time temporary position will be solely grant funded. They'll work roughly about 10 hours a week at a rate of $22 an hour. So I believe in 2019 or 2020, the city became an AARP age-friendly community. And as what that means, essentially, we're supposed to be focusing certain actions on meeting the needs for all ages across our city to maintain this age-friendly status. So what we need to do as a city is develop a community survey to identify needs within the community and then create an action plan to follow and use in the future. So this proposed position will work with community stakeholders and city leaders to plan, develop, and implement that community survey. They'll utilize that data to create that action plan, and then they will also be working on potentially a community garden as well. So this position will be grant funded until March of 2024. So I know it's not long, but we're hoping we get somebody on board. I know we have a few people in mind that maybe have showed some interest, and then we'll utilize the plan that they hopefully get created to just continue projects in the future for the city, looking at it through an age-friendly lens. So we have attached that job description. We created it with the help of Natalie Mathewson from Central Minnesota Council on Aging, and our attorney has reviewed the job description. So I'll take any questions.
All right, sounds great. Member Luger, any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Member Yeager, questions?
this money is all for the employee, none of it to actually build a community garden?
So we have a breakdown, so I can provide the breakdown if you would like, but there's the cost for the employee, then there are some construction costs that we are awarded for the garden, and then just some administrative costs, like printing costs and things like that. Those are the three categories that the grant
How
broke
much
down.
is awarded for construction?
I wanna say it was about 5,000. I will say, I think when we initially presented the communication, it was talked about creation of a new community garden. I received some information last week that the current one at Fairview, they are now maybe willing to expand.
Oh.
So we will be communicating with them, and if that's the case, we probably won't need those construction costs, at least for a new community garden.
Well, yes and no, because you would, even if you expanded, you still need fencing.
Yeah.
Fairview just got rid of their wood chips and went to limestone to keep the weeds down. You still need raised beds, and I know during the course of Fairview's garden, most of the raised beds, I know mine was, the wood had rotted, so they were replaced. You still need the water. And then if you did just expand Fairview's garden, then Fairview would still manage it?
Yeah, like I said, I just received this information last week, so I'm sure city staff will start communicating with Fairview on kind of what they are thinking. Initially, they were the ones who suggested a new garden at Meadows, and now they actually would like to go in on some partnerships to expand their current garden.
Oh, okay, because it's it's a big job to keep the garden going, because as we deal with Fairview,
Yeah.
with our plot. So if you can get them to do the work rather than us having to expand staff. So back to the position, will the position run out, when the grant money runs out, will the position and employee be terminated?
Yep, that's stated, I believe, right at the top of the job description. Yep, upon expiration and exhaustion of grant funds, it will end.
And is there a possibility that staff would recommend to council to keep the employee in another capacity?
I guess that would be up to staff at that time. At the current moment, that is not necessarily the plan. I think the plan would be utilizing current staff to hopefully manage what this individual can get done. If both staff and council feel it'd be beneficial to maybe keep them on using city funds, that's a discussion they can have.
Okay, that's all I had, thank you.
All right, Member Schilling, did anybody ask you? I lost track, sorry.
No, I
No
don't have any
questions?
questions.
All right.
I think it's a great thing.
All right, Member Onstad.
This is a quarter-time position. There'd be no benefits.
Correct, no benefits.
Who would be supervising this person? Do you know
At the
what
moment,
department?
probably Mr. Linwood.
Okay.
If a replacement is found for me, they may be a supervisor, but Mr. Linwood would probably still be very involved.
So under that department, okay.
Or if Mr. Sachs stays, I mean,
Yeah,
then
that's a
that would work
possibility.
too, so I'm just stating. Member Luker,
No questions.
did I already ask you?
You did.
I did, I'm sorry.
okay.
Lost my train of thought here. All right, I have no further questions. I have a statement, though. I think this is awesome. It's on one of our goals, is to make sure that we have a community where people can age in place. So starting at maybe working at one of Rosenbauer, pick one of our jobs, and maybe moving into an apartment, and then having a family moving into a home, and then, as we see, that age in place. So I'm very excited about we're getting a chance to take a look at that. So I appreciate staff for writing this grant and being able to get this grant for us. My hope is always we get more walking trails. So we all know that. I'm a big fan of that. Huh?
We're working on it.
We're working on it, but not fast enough. So, all right, I will make the motion to approve the job description for the part-time project coordinator for the age-friendly work and authorizing advertising. The position, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Onstad, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, that is approved. Last one on the agenda, number 23, to consider a council work session to discuss the potential apartment project from Reuters, it's not Reuters, Is it Reuters? Am I
Reuter
saying that right?
Walton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Walton on June 27th at 5:30 PM. Mr. Linwood?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. I know that we have given council a high level of the potential product that Reuter Walton is looking to do in regards to a potential apartment project, but we think it would be beneficial to have the individual from Reuter Walton here to discuss the project a little more in depth. We would also have our consultant from Baker Tilly to go over some of the financials and the application from MHFA and how that would all work within the city. So we think a work session would be most appropriate, and then have that come back into a future council agenda in July for the council to request action on. So that is the time. Hopefully that does work for council. I know that it was somewhat tricky with our representative from Reuter Walton and Baker Tilly to get a time to work. So I'm hopeful that does work for council.
All right. Did everybody check their calendars?
Yep, good to go.
27th at 5:30 works?
I'll be out of town.
You'll be out of town? Okay. So does it work for everybody except for Member Luger? All right. Perfect. So we need a motion to approve the council work session for June 27th at 5:30 PM here at City Council.
Here at City Hall, correct?
We have,
City.
huh?
You said city council.
City Hall. I am. I'm really working on being perfect. I know.
So
So, we have a first and a second. Did you get that? The first and second? Member Schilling is the first, Member Onset is the
Thank you.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Want to deny it? Anybody? No? So it is approved. All right. Fabulous. We're going to go to council reports. It's getting warm in here, right? Yeah, okay. So we're going to start with Member Yeager.
Oh, I attended the Highway 8 coffee and cookie event last Thursday, and I want to thank you all for coming and thank you all for watching.
Member Schilling?
Thank you all for coming in. Thank you for watching. I have no reports. I've been gone for seminars for 2 straight weeks, so thank you.
Welcome back.
Yep.
Member Onstead?
I attended the planning, or not planning, but the budget session on the 7th, and that's my only report. Thanks for everyone coming out.
Did you attend Park?
We didn't have it last week.
Oh, did we fill that in?
No,
for the
that
other
was,
one?
that was on the
for other
5th.
council?
That was before.
Got it. All right, sounds good. All right, thank you, Member Luger.
I also attended the budget work session on the 7th. Thank you all for coming.
All right. I attended the Highway 8 thank you, and I would again like to publicly thank our legislators who were able to get the funding finally for Highway 8. We believe it'll be, by the time all is said and done, about $125 million to get it complete. So I know that that's been working for a long time. I was told by Senator Coran, now we can move on to other budgeting, and I'm thinking public safety. I would also like to thank all the volunteers for the MS-150. I know everybody was riveted by my Facebook Live. I know it was exciting, but it truly is a really, really super great event. They raise a lot of money, and I see a lot of people come back year after year. I saw some riders who have rode the MS-150 for the last probably 3 or 4 years that can no longer ride because they do have MS. So it's a very moving time to come out. And I would like to thank our friends at Stacy Lent for also cheering on our riders as well. So we had 2 spots where we had cheer. So pretty exciting for that. And then I attended the budget session as well. And probably the biggest thing I'm super excited about is shovels in the ground for Veterans Memorial Park, which will be Friday at 3 o'clock, 3:30. 3:30?
Yep.
Right,
Correct.
Mr. Linwood?
Correct.
Yeah. This coming Friday, so I know it came up really soon. That project could not have happened without the support of our many businesses and without our residents' support and without the Buy a Brick program. So I think hopefully you saw the 10 I bought or 8 or whatever. So I'm pretty excited about that. So with that, again, for our employees that are retiring or moving on, we're very sad about that, but we wish them the best. So, all right, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn by Member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
I thought you wanted to say. Member Schilling, all in favor?